Hello and welcome back to the NMMA. This marks the beginning of the 2014-15 season, which is season 5 for us. And so, if you're keeping track, that means that including this season, we have 11 seasons remaining in the league. So, the biggest news from free agency was that we had a couple of big players change teams. First and foremost, Luol Deng has joined the Minnesota Timberwolves, who got some good progression just recently, and so they are now looking to be a pretty competitive team, probably in the playoffs. The Seattle Supersonics signed, I think, 4 different veteran frontcourt players in Gerald Wallace, David West, Emeka Okafor, and AK-47. Crazy additions to that tanking team, and now we're going to be seeing plenty of trade block posts from Justin as he tries to offload them. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at rosters. There were a handful of teams that were below the roster minimums, and so there are quite a few players that were automatically signed to teams. And there was only one example of a team that was over 15 going into the season. And so the New York Knicks automatically had Cleanthony Early, who was their second-round pick, cut. Other than that, everybody was in compliance, so that's a good thing. Shout out to Thanasis Antetokounmpo coming home to the Milwaukee Bucks despite Giannis not being there. Between him and a great progression from Chris Middleton, I think RJ is going to be very happy with how his Bucks are looking very bucky. The Bulls are looking to come back strong, just as they were last season. They struggled a little bit 2 seasons ago, as they, I think, were a 5 seed, but bringing in Rondo and tweaking their lineup just a little bit seemed to work out very well, and they were extremely competitive, especially coming into last season. The Fighting Irish, with the acquisition of the offseason, bringing in Tim Duncan. Former rivals around this era, Tim Duncan and LeBron James, are now incredible teammates in the professional sports team version of his high school team. So they're going to be looking to make quite the run. Vancouver Grizzlies, no major changes here. They did sign Shannon Brown. Had some modest progression. Very curious to see if they're going to be a playoff team this year. The Hawks traded for Oscar Schmidt after he helped eliminate them in the first round last year. The Heat, with some of the biggest signings of the offseason, they brought in Zach Randolph from the Golden State Warriors, who surprisingly could not retain him. Zach Randolph will be an amazing front court addition pairing with Kevin Durant. They also signed Jamal Crawford and who else? Yao Ming and Nenad Krishtik. The new look Heat are going to be looking to be quite a bit more competitive. The Hornets in the early stages of a rebuild after trading Tim Duncan. They had a minor regression from Joe Johnson. Actually, some attribute progression for Tony Parker, though. So, I mean, both of those players are still looking quite hot. If they want to tank, which, I mean, they don't have their picks, no real reason to tank, but if they want to sell those players, they should have plenty of resale value. The Jazz, with no major signings here, but some good progression for both Stuckey and Paul George up top. Hopefully another year of chemistry under the belt will help with Carlos Boozer's fit. The Kings looking even more powerful after a good amount of progression from Boogie. I think that they are going to be probably a lock for a top 4 seed in the West. The Knicks kind of in a transition phase here after trading away Amari Stoudemire and trading away Zach Randolph last season. They had some good progression with the rookies. Brought in boy Ahmed Ali as well. The Lakers running it back. They have old man 38-year-old Kevin Garnett now. Should bring some amazing defense to this very strong team. The Magic with Kevin Love now a 90 overall. Had some good progression to Biyombo. Mavericks, sadly, with some regression for Kenneth Faried, now down to a 71 overall. That is not looking good for his career as a 25-year-old. Otto Porter looking up. Dennis Schroeder. Days are slowly going to get brighter in Dallas, and that's a good thing. Nets looking pretty good in the midst of their rebuild after trading away Dirk and KG. Read the writing on the wall and realized that it was time for a new look. Denver Nuggets, after some great progression to Draymond, and I think some minor signings, they're going to be looking to be even better than last season, and they very well could be the 1 seed in the West. The Pacers drafted Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Lee Erickson. All very strong rookies, of course, Jokic. And this team is completely turning around a very mid-franchise. Excited to see what Bobby does with it. The Pels here, no major changes. I guess they no longer have Tyson Chandler. He was signed away by, I believe, the Pistons. Is he here? Yep, there he is. So yeah, the Pistons signed Tyson Chandler. That is a very big acquisition for them. Had some good progression for Ben McLemore as well. So new community mod Gord is looking to be quite a bit more competitive. He'll probably be in the playoff race. The Raptors had some great progression for Valanciunas. Rookie Flores is looking pretty good. Barnes has some good progression as well. The Rockets just re-signed both Dwight and Kyrie. Back-to-back champs had some good progression with PJ Tucker, Keon Toscano. Now 80 overall with morale, John Henson. Things are still looking great in Houston. The Spurs with some great progression for Toby. I think this team is going to be much better than the 9 seed they were last year. The Suns, who only had 6 players signed coming out of the offseason, automatically signed several players here. They traded for Pietrus. They brought in Darko Milicic, the GOAT, Sheldon Williams, Gilbert Arenas, Martell Webster. Whole bunch of veteran talent here that is not going to be doing too much for them. Supersonics, already mentioned their major veteran frontcourt signings. I think that Justin may have overplayed his hand a little bit, but with Zach LaVine here, who else? Jarrett Jack. You know, they have a decently balanced team, and they may be in the play-in race. We'll see. New look Thunder with Amari Stoudemire and Bogut, Gallinari. Very interesting team here. Very curious to see what their ceiling is. The Timberwolves, the best defense in the league 2 years running, have brought in Luol Deng and had amazing progression for both Drummond and Giannis. This team may be on the up and up. I would not be shocked if they were as high as a top 4 seed. The Blazers with a pretty disappointing result for no progression for Victor Oladipo. Nevertheless, did he win Rookie of the Year? I don't actually recall. But he had an amazing rookie season nevertheless. I think he did win. Had some good progression for Brevin Baker as well. The Warriors with no regression for Dirk, or -1 only, which is amazing. Some good progression for pretty much all of their team, but especially Klay Thompson. This team could be quite competitive now. Dirk has been just amazing in this sim so far. And the Wizards drafted Joel Embiid. Between that and some progression to their rookies, they are probably still in the tank for 1 to 2 more seasons, but looking good. Okay, now let's take a look at cap tables. Let me make sure that the salary cap is still turned off. Yep. So please, please, please remember to be updating your sheets. Big reason behind the delay that we had during this offseason was because it took so long to have all the sheets updated and audited. And that will continue. Ton of cap space for the Bucks here. Bulls looking good. Very curious to see how they're going to do against the top teams in the East. Big question remains, are the Fighting Irish one-seed material? Can they overtake the Magic? I kind of think so. I think that with two top four Defensive Player of the Year candidates from last season on the same team, that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They honestly might be my finals pick coming out of the East. So I think that is a devastating matchup for the Magic. The Hawks with no progression for Kawhi Leonard, unfortunately, but Anthony Davis is looking quite a bit better, and several others as well. I think that this team is probably going to be a top 3 seed. The new look Heat. Very curious to see how this plays out as well, especially considering they just have the 1+1 for Z-Bo. There's mountains of dead cap for the Knicks. Man, the fact that Kobe is still not declining, now at age 36, as a 95 overall, probably could go up even more if he was switched to a small forward, is just crazy to me. They made it to the second round last year, and frankly, if it wasn't for the Rockets matchup, very well could have been a Western Conference Finals team. Jokic is just going to be such a great fit here, especially with the defense that Josh Smith offers. He's kind of the ideal rookie to be drafting when they just kind of wanted to retool. It was a very lucky lottery jump for them. Ton of cap coming off the books for the Pels after this year. Very curious to see what they do. Man, Devin Harris's contract is going to be dropping off for the Pistons here, which means that they're going to have even more cap to sign to an increasingly competitive team. Gord has been managing that team pretty well. Just boatloads of cap here for the Raptors. Very locked up for the Rockets, just below the luxury tax, which we are now required to remain below, just like the Orlando Magic. That Luol Dengmak's contract in a vacuum may seem very expensive, but especially with the no trade clause. But when you're needing to bring in a shooting 2 to pair with the rest of the team, and they want to be competing sooner, kind of makes sense. We'll see how that plays out, like 3 seasons from now. Just a ludicrous amount of players on the dead cap list here for the Wizards. Okay, now let's take a look at picks, which this should be updated through the Pietrus trade. Please, please, please remember that if a pick is 2015, 16, or 17 and has been labeled as either Trailblazers or Fighting Irish, those are actually reversed and going to be based on the opposite team's finishing position. So this 2017 Fighting Irish pick that is actually going to be based on, this 2017 Trailblazers pick is actually going to be based on where the Fighting Irish fall there. So make sure that you're keeping track of that. I'm going to be doing my best to create a list to send to everybody to make sure that they are on top of it, but that is something that's very important to be following. It could create some confusions come draft time. After 2017, though, so starting in the 2018 season, those names will match, and so that'll no longer be an issue. So just 3 more seasons of the issue of the confusion. A lot of picks here for the Nets. They've done a very good job rebuilding in the offseason. I know that we don't usually make a lot of GM of the Year nominations based on offseason moves alone, but I think that DeGames is going to be in the running. It's pretty hard to sell off players as old as Dirk and KG, so he did a very good job. Tons of picks here for the Supersonics. Okay, and now let's take a look at the power rankings, which, remember, 2K is always very wrong about this. Let's see how wrong. Okay, Rockets, Fighting Irish, Hawks, Nuggets. I mean, those are all very reasonable. Lakers, Bulls, Magic. All right, maybe spoken too soon. Jazz, Pels. 76ers seem a bit high for me, especially with the regression that Serge Ibaka had. Kings are definitely higher. I'd have Kings probably above Jazz in about that 9-8 spot. I think the Bucks are going to be a little bit better than that. But I mean, yeah, this is not that bad of a ranking. Impressive. All right, now let's take a look at system proficiencies. Something I want to remind everybody is that although, as you can see in the bottom left, the coach's preferred system, that may indicate to you that they only have one system that they like. That is not the case. Every coach actually has a rating from 1 to 100 for all 8 systems. And 2K only lists whatever the top one is, no matter what the difference is between the top one and the next ones down. So, for example, if a coach has a rating of 99 for one system and all the others are 5, or if a coach has a rating of 60 and all of the others are 55 and it's barely a difference at all, it will still only list the 60 or the 99 there. It's only going to list wherever the top one is, and you're not going to have a strong indication of what their other preferences might be. The best way to estimate that is by going through this and taking a look at all of the system proficiency ratings based on the stars here, as well as what the individual fills for the bars are based on whatever your preferred players are, and ensuring that it matches that best. But coaches are a little bit more flexible than people give them credit for. Looks like the Pacers should make a system change because Jokic is not well matched for a defensive system. Okay. So now we're going to take a look at coach progression, which, as a reminder, I do not know for a fact whether or not coaches progress, but, we saw potential, and so we're going to be tracking this each season. Oops, let's start with the 76ers. You got to expect that at the very least the Badgers do advance. But yeah, please check all of these start of season videos and compare these, and if you find any sort of progression, point it out to me. All right, and although we had coach free agency because this was the first offseason where the coach draft contracts had expired, we are going to take a look at the coaching candidates here just in case anybody wants to make some last-minute signings. So first sorted by offense. Remember that Michael Stauffer cannot be signed. We are banning him because he is maxed out. We'll go through the C's. And then for defense. Okay. And finally, let's take a look at contract extensions. Remember that you get 2 contract extensions that you can offer during the season. Ton of people willing to resign for the Cavs. Curious to see who they choose. Westbrook willing to re-up for the Grizzlies. That's good news. Okay. And I lied. One more thing. We're going to be taking a look at free agents as well. Still a couple of good free agents available here. Smarto Samuels, Ersan Ilyasova, Marvin Cook, Chris Humphries, all very serviceable. We'll go down through the 70 overalls. I lied. We're going to go down through the 72 overalls. There are plenty of options here. Alrighty. Okay, so it looks like the deadline is going to be set for Thursday evening. So happy trading and happy signing until then.